Hello, and welcome to the N4 podcast. My name is Craig Kamen. Today we have an exciting episode and a story to share with you. We have with us Johannes Stenberg from Sweden. Johannes, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks a lot. Nice to be here.
Yeah, thanks. Good to have you. Johannes, tell us a little bit about you. From what I understand, your early years were spent in Sweden and also outside of Sweden. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, my parents worked as missionaries in Africa, in Central Africa and Burundi, for quite a few years. So I lived there for 5 years, so as a child and as a youth.
And what was that like? What ages were you when you were there? And yeah, I'm assuming that they're quite different than the Swedish context. So
yeah, I was there when I was between 3 and 5, and then 13 until 16. So when I was a teenager, I went to boarding school in Tanzania. So I went back and forth between Tanzania and Burundi. So yeah, it was quite different.
Yeah.
But for me, it was a very good experience. Sometimes tough, but overall, I'm very glad for it. I'm glad for my parents that show me how important faith is, how important mission is, seeing different cultures, broaden your perspectives. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah. So then tell us then, so you're growing up parents are missionaries. So Christianity is not just like something you do, it's like all of life. But then tell us a little bit about when did you come to know Jesus and your faith journey?
Yeah, as you said, faith has always been a natural part of my life, and I always had the desire to follow Jesus. But when I was in 8th grade, I really started to read the Bible on my own, and I was very devoted to read the Bible. So I actually read it in, I think, 3 or 4 months, the entire Bible.
The whole Bible?
Yeah, the whole Bible.
Oh, wow.
So that made a big difference, because then my faith really became my own. So that was a big shift for me. And then, of course, you struggle with life. And when I went to high school, you were sort of the odd guy being Christian in the Swedish secular society. So, of course, there was a lot of struggles, but I always had this conviction that I want to follow Jesus. I want to be part of his mission somehow.
Great. And tell me a little bit about your family. I understand you have some children and you're married, so tell us about them.
Yeah, I'm married to Nomi. She's a speech therapist. And then I've got 3 children, ages 12, 9, and 8.
Wow. And they're in school, and what's family life for you guys like?
Yeah, they're in school. Right now, they're in the same school, so it's very convenient, close to where we live. So a lot of kids' activities. All 3 of our kids like to sing, so they are part of 3 different choirs.
Okay.
So a lot of, different concerts and so on.
Let's talk a little bit about your ministry life. I understand you started out, your first kind of ministry larger role was you were pastoring in Stockholm. So tell us about that.
That's right. I was living in an area called Linköping. It's a poor area with Swedish standards, but it's one of these areas that you talk a lot about in the news due to crime and different things. So it's a multicultural area with a lot of immigrants, a lot of Muslims. So there was a church planted there in the 90s. So I became one of the pastors, working especially among youth and children.
And how did that shape you? Be in that type of environment, that type of culture?
I've always felt that I've been called to mission. But during these years, I realized the mission field is very much in Sweden as well. So I can reach the unreached nations, the people from nations where there are very few Christians. They're my neighbors. So I can reach them. And also meeting a lot of Muslims that shaped me a lot. So I'm very grateful for those years.
Yeah, that's great. So you were there, but then you started to be more involved in maybe starting some new churches and planting new churches in Sweden. So tell us about that.
When I was about 20, I somehow felt God called me into church planting.
So early?
Yeah,
20
very early. I met some different church planters.
Okay.
I read some books, and I really felt, this is something for me. But I wasn't ready then. So when I was 27, my wife and I, we were newly married. We felt, now is the time. Now God is drawing us. So we need to make the move. We felt we wanted to plant an intercultural church. somewhere else, not in Stockholm. So eventually we ended up in Linköping, so that's a university city. So we lived in one of the areas called Skäggetorp, working especially among immigrants.
And you said the word intercultural church. Help if for listeners, maybe people that aren't familiar with that term. What is an intercultural church? There are people might have heard of international churches, English language churches in Europe. Like, tell us a little bit about what is an intercultural and how does it differentiate from other church types that may be similar but not exactly the same?
In a Swedish setting, when we talk about intercultural church, we often have Swedish as the main language because the immigrants that are coming to Sweden, they come a lot from the Middle East, but also from Latin America and different parts of the world where English is not a big language. So that's why we rarely use English. Swedish is the common language. If you don't know Swedish that well, you wish to learn more. So it's the language that is primarily used, and of course use translation as well. So in Stockholm, in our church, we used mainly 3 languages, Swedish, Arabic, and Spanish. They were the 3 main languages. So we were worshiping in these 3 languages. So it's very funny because I've been worshiping in Arabic for like 20 years. And I don't know real Arabic, but I know quite a few songs. And when I worship on my own, I sometimes worship in Arabic because it's part of the way I've been shaped.
So Swedish is the common language. How Arabic, I can see that. Spanish, that's different cultural. What does a church look like when you have such different groups?
For us, the Sunday service was very important because then we were sort of united. We worshiped together in different languages. We tried to make it really intercultural. And then you had language groups as well. So the Arabs, they met on, or Arab speaking, they met on Fridays, and the Spanish speaking met on Saturdays and so on. But then we had sort of an intercultural church gathering on Sundays where we celebrated the diversity, but also the unity in Christ.
Wow. That's, I pastored an international church, so not exactly the same, but similar, and I just noticed with people that are like transitioning, the Sunday gathering service has quite a bit of meaning for them to come together because sometimes they live quite isolated lives and find that to be really important. And that church didn't just stay that church. There were some other churches that were planted or sites that were planted out of that. Can you tell us that story?
Yeah, actually, the church in Stockholm, they haven't planted more churches, but we, as a couple, felt, we need to move on. So we actually moved to another city, so 2 hours away, to plant a new church. So we did it sort of our own, of course, with good connections with the older church, but they weren't really ready to be a mother church. For many reasons, but mostly geographical reasons. They were quite a distance. So we actually moved to Linköping. We talked with some of the churches there. What do you feel about this? Do you want to connect with us? Because we feel God has called us to plant an intercultural church in this city. And they were, several of them were very positive, but also a bit reserved and said, this is good for you, we want to bless you, but this is not really our thing. But there were some people who joined. So we were a group of 10, and actually we didn't know each other before. So 10 more or less strangers starting a church together. So it was a lot of focusing on team dynamics and getting to know each other. But it was a very good experience. We learned a lot. There was a church planted in Skäggetorp.
And then from there you also saw you had other churches planted in other areas in there. So how many churches did you plant and what was that like?
After 7 years in Skäggetorp, we moved on to another area also.
And moved on you, like with your family?
Yeah, with my family.
You moved to a different area? Yeah. Okay.
So it was not a big distance, just a few kilometers, but it was a totally different area. So for us, it was a big move. And really started off again, because normally if you want to see multiplication, you often send people away to plant a new church, but we felt there's no one really here that we could send. So it's us who have to go.
You have to go.
So we handed over the leadership in the first church in Skäggetorp, and then moved to Ryd to plant a new church there. And then after a few years, we also started in a third area called Berga. So all of them are intercultural, but in different ways. In Ryd, it's mostly international students and Swedish students, while Berga and Skäggetorp mostly immigrants.
Wow. And do you ever gather the groups to get all the areas together for common fellowship, or they are more independent, not isolated, but separate?
Yeah, once a month we have gatherings together, more regular church service. So it's on Friday nights. So we start with tacos, 5 o'clock, and then 6 o'clock we have a gathering with Bible studies and church gathering, and then we have fika and coffee and fellowship, and then towards the end of the night we finish up with worship, prayer, and communion. So we do this once a month, and these gatherings are very important because then you're more people, you celebrate together. It's a lot of fun, different generations. But most of the regular things, they happen on the different sites on a weekly basis.
And then you have those big monthly kind of celebrations, and then probably it's quite a variety. You said you have immigrants, you have students, you have local Swedes and everything. So what would you say are some of the key things, and how do you bring unity to that group? And how do you even deal with when there are different theological questions or cultural questions, or express how people, how have you dealt with those types of situations?
We have what is sometimes called a centered set approach. So instead of creating a lot of boundaries, who's inside, who's outside, we instead have a very strong core. Where we talk about the basic Christian faith, but there are a lot of things in the Christian faith that we don't define. You can think differently, but what we often emphasize is the Bible is the Word of God. So when there are differences, we always point to the Bible and read the Bible together, instead of saying, "Oh, the Bible says this." We read together and let the Bible sort of reveal itself for us. So that is one approach that we do. And also when it comes to conflict resolutions and different culture clashes, we've written some things that will, especially based on Matthew chapter 18, how Jesus taught us how to deal with different conflicts, and then also the book of James, where it talks about you should search for peace in all the relationships. So these are like the core values, so we always point to them when there are things. Okay, let's treat it as Jesus did, and let's have this attitude that's mentioned in the book of James.
That's great. Really important, those things. And my experience is that when you can point to the Bible and people can read it, that's one thing that all the cultures seem to kind of submit and fall under, and it's not I grew up like this, or I have had this, even experiences. So, okay, that's the Bible. And then, especially in the church, in our environments and what we're doing, this is how things have to kind of be. So that's great. So as you have been a part of in this idea of how you plant churches, and have come up with maybe a model or some key steps that you use along the way. What are some of those key things that you are using to help go into a new area and see it progress into becoming, more of a fully formed church?
When we started off in Skäggetorp, we planted a more traditional church with strong emphasis on Sunday services and more traditional structures. It was very missional, but still. But then when we started off in Ryd and Berga, we felt, we need to do it more simple. And also the reason we had 3 small kids. We couldn't keep up with everything sort of in a traditional church, so we had to do it more simple. So we started off meeting primarily in our home, inviting people there. And we did a lot of discovery Bible study. That's a tool that we think is wonderful. It works very, very well in a Swedish setting. You take a text, you ask a few questions, and instead of like many ways of studying the Bible, it's about knowledge, getting more knowledge. But when you do discover Bible study, emphasis on application. How does this apply to my life? How can I, like in my everyday life, apply this? And how is this changing me to live a more missional life? Whom is God sending me to? So Discover Bible Study has been very important for us. And it works incredibly well in the Swedish setting as well. It comes from India, like that's where it started. But in many ways, it's so Swedish. It's group discussions that we do in schools all the time. We have group discussions. It's very Swedish. We're very egalitarian. We don't like strong leadership. And when you do Discover Bible Study, you alternate the leadership and or the facilitation of the conversations. So people become involved. In schools, we're taught to be critical thinkers, finding the answers ourselves. And that's what you do. Then you read the text and find the answers there instead of a pastor telling you the right answers. You dig in yourself, find answers. So in many ways, Discover Bible Study works very well in the Scandinavian culture. So we find it very useful, both when it comes to secular Swedes students, but also in a more intercultural setting. It works very well.
And it seems to be something, it's very easy, as you were saying, simple, doesn't take a lot of program or even resources in order to have a discovery.
And as a pastor, it makes a big difference, because as a pastor, you often spend a lot of time in preparation, but we have more regular sermons, preaching once a month. And I'm not always doing it, so perhaps I preach in my church like 5 times a year or something. The rest of the time we study the Bible, so that gives me a lot of space to build relationships, to invest in people, to disciple people. So that's also a big advantage of using DBS.
So then Discovery Bible Study is kind of the first step, and then what? Okay, so you have a group of people that are meeting in a home. Then what? What's the next step?
We primarily use 2 tools. It's Alpha and it's DBS. And Alpha is a very good way of inviting people. Alpha is very big in Sweden, used in many churches, all kinds of churches, like the Church of Sweden, the Lutheran state, former state church, and then Pentecostals and everyone are using it. So it's good. It works very well in the Swedish setting. So we use it a lot to invite people. And we've done it a lot in our home, but also in other settings. So doing it in a home is a great advantage, because then we as a family can do it together. The kids, they eat with the participants, they get to know them a bit. And my wife and I, we can serve together, because in ministry sometimes that's a struggle when you have a family. You can't be involved, both of you. But doing Alpha in your home, you can be involved, both of us. And the kids know that after the meal they can watch TV and there is no limits, so they are happy. And my wife and I were happy because we can fully be a part of the conversations. So we've done Alphas in our homes, so that's been very good. And a lot of people, non-Christians, start to come both to the Bible, Discovery Bible Studies, but also to Alphas. So people with no religious background, and it's we've created this culture where it's easy to come, where you don't need any pre-knowledge. You can just show up, and it's really funny because people come, and when we do the DBS, of course we pray. So people that are non-Christian are not there. Okay, they see that everyone else is praying, so I'll pray as well. They might not be Christian yet, but they pray and they contribute, and they read the Bible and says, I think this can be applied to my life and as a student and so on. So these 2 tools are very good in the Scandinavian context, and I think probably European contexts.
And do you think, is the idea then someone, for example, you just have a new person, do they come to the Alpha, then they go to DBS, or is it kind of they can choose what they go to, and then what's the next step after that? Because I know at least DBS can be, but Alpha there is it's a course, so there's a kind of a starting and end. So what's how does you connect these pieces together?
In the ideal world, you start with an Alpha, and then after Alpha, you immediately continue with the Discover Bible Study group. So that's the ideal. But sometimes people come and do the Bible studies first, and then after a while they realize, there's this Alpha course, so I want to join that. And that's perfectly fine as well.
The basics of the faith, because Alpha covers a lot of those things. And so,
but we can see in Sweden that more and more churches are using Discover Bible Study as a follow-up of their Alpha. Because, as I told you, a lot of Swedes like Alpha. They have good experience. They like the safe environment of Alpha. But then after Alpha, they said, oh, you can join the small group or you can join Sunday service. And people are very confused because the small groups and the Sunday services are so different.
Yes.
So they liked Alpha, but the rest of the church didn't really care about.
Right, okay.
But if you do Discover Bible Study right after Alpha, you see that then the participants of Alpha, most of them want to continue. And then they discover Jesus. And so even among established churches, I think the combination of doing Alpha and DBS is very good. So you can use it in established church, but also as a way of planting a new church. And it makes it easier to start a church if you start off with Alpha, because you can do it in home. You don't need a lot of preparation. You need to cook some food. You need to watch a video and then talk. So if you're 4 people, you can actually start a church.
You don't need like 25 or 30 people in a room. You can do a small, just around a computer monitor or something like that.
So it makes a big difference. So I think if you use these tools, church planting can be more accessible. And that's why I think it's just so good for younger people as well. They can start off with doing this. And also the idea that Alpha and DBS is very missional. So you get the DNA of mission all from the start.
From the very
Some
beginning.
church plants, you start off with the idea that you want to be missional, but there is so much going on with creating the team and creating the vision and the organization that you sort of lose the DNA of mission, even though that's the reason why you started. But Alpha and DBS helps you to really get the right DNA at the start. To start off with connecting with people, sharing the faith, disciple people. And then after a while you need to, perhaps we need to formalize this. But instead of formalizing first, you do the missional thing first.
And that helps you to kind of a little bit observe and see what God is doing in different places, rather than putting maybe the cart in front of the horse. It kind of the cart comes after the horse, and it flows a little bit more naturally. And you think that is not just something in the Swedish context? Do you think something like that could work in all of Europe?
I definitely think so, especially in Northern Europe, that's for sure, because we're fairly similar. But yeah, definitely. And as part of M4, we're sort of digging into this. Could this be something that we can develop more?
Yeah, it's really fascinating. And I think now, being in Estonia for over 20 years, Alpha just is something that it's every time there's a course somewhere, I maybe see in Facebook, they'll show the people that have gone to it, and then they mention how many people have gotten saved or baptized from it. You just think like, wow, I think it's one of those things where it's a tool that seems God has blessed with a lot of fruit all over the world, but especially in the European context, I've seen it become very, very successful. So tell us, successful, very blessed in that way. So now, tell me a bit about what are you doing today in your ministry work? And what is your role like?
Yeah, I work locally as a pastor, part-time, and then also work for a denomination with church planting, and then also work a little bit with M4. So it's a combo.
Yeah. Every day's a little different.
Yeah, it is. But I really like it. I'm very glad for it. And as a pastor in a local church, we're a team. So we're 3 people having 25% each. And that's a really good model for us, because then you have to have a regular job or you need to study, but you get some time to actually have the time to lead as well. And you can back up for each other, and you're not alone, and having this team dynamic. So this is something that we find is very useful to have, if possible, get a small salary, but not full time, and then share it with several people.
And you're leading church plants in your denomination. So tell us a little bit about denomination. What does it mean? If I understand, the denomination is quite established and has been around a long time. So how does that fit being a part of a denomination that's older, more established, but then planting new churches?
Yeah, it's a Baptist denomination. So it was started in the 1800s. So yeah, it's very old. So we do different trainings like M4 for church planting teams. That's very crucial for us, and we've done it for many years. And different trainings, but also meeting a lot of youth, like inspire them for, I think, being missional. how to share their faith, and hopefully that will spark something. Because I think that very few Swedes, Christians, they see themselves as pioneers, as church planters. That's not really part of their thinking. So we sort of need to awaken that because it's there in some people, not in everyone, but quite a few young people, they have this calling, but they don't realize it. So we need to train them and sort of awaken this calling that you actually have the gifting of an entrepreneur, a church planter, to be a pioneer.
Wow, that's great. Do you have any, I don't want to say success the wrong word, let me try that again. Do you have any stories of what you've seen in your ministry, you know, that life change that people have experienced? And a little bit connected with the kind of the Alpha, the DBS, what's happened in your denomination?
In our church, I'm very happy because we really created a culture where people invite people. So, for example, one student in our church, he's in his 20s. So when we started an Alpha course, he invited 15 people, just told people in his class, oh, come. And actually 2 of them came.
Okay.
And if you look at numbers...
That's not a bad percent.
No. So it's really cool. And one of them, he was actually invited the semester before as well, but then said, oh, I don't want to join. But then the next semester he asked again, oh, do you want to join? And then he joined. And after just a few weeks, he realized, this is something that I'm really longing for. I started to read the Bible and realized, oh, this Jesus, I'm really interested in him. And he started to pray, and Jesus answered his prayers, and for a big shift, like a very typical Swede, secular, grown up in a culture where, family, non-religious. But then after Alpha, he found Christ and got baptized, and then became one of the leaders. And the other person, he was more skeptical. Had more of a Christian upbringing, but left his faith very early. But then he felt, oh, I want to do Alpha again. So I did it a second time. So now when we're starting Alpha this spring, he'll be one of the leaders. He's not a devoted Christian yet, but he feels safe, and he's see that this is something that inspires a lot. So there are several of these stories where people come with no background, they're invited, and people invite a lot of people, and most of them say no, but some people say yes, and a lot of people come for just come once, and then they don't come back. But some people continue, and then you see wonderful fruit.
Wonderful fruit.
And for us, it's very important to really create this culture where people feel safe. Emphasis the belonging. That you can come here, you can belong. You don't need to believe. Hopefully, you will believe after a while. But, and that's why we also have leaders who are not Christian in the Alpha courses. And that creates a culture where it feels very safe. So I had a Polish student, and she was, when she started Alpha, she was like sort of a hardcore atheist. And then she said, I want to be a leader. So we actually felt, okay, sure. And of course, together with mature Christians. But she created a culture where it was okay to disagree. It was okay to think openly. And people felt safe. And then they discovered faith. And now she says, oh, I'm not a believer yet. That's how she defines herself now. She's not an atheist anymore. But not a believer yet.
It seems like there's an idea that people start to belong before they come to faith. You know, and so it's not like faith is the barrier to belonging. And it's quite, it can be a little bit messy, you know, maybe in maybe ways of thinking, but it tends to be a little bit more organic in how things really work in life. Tell me a little bit, what's going on in Sweden in church planting? What is going on, and not just church planting, but the spiritual climate? What are you observing and seeing in Sweden?
In the UK, you talk a lot about the quiet revival. In Sweden, we can see a lot of similarities. A lot of young people are coming to churches, especially males, and you can see in media, you can really see a shift. Previously, there was no articles or about Christian faith, or like Christian faith was odd. Now there are a lot of articles about young people coming to faith in secular press. They write about these stories in a very neutral way. So you can really see a shift, that there is a greater openness to Christian faith. And when we do Alpha, when I ask people, have you told people about doing Alpha? They said, of course, why shouldn't I? So in my generation, when I was younger, you felt a bit ashamed of being Christian. You were always the odd one. But being Christian today is not that odd. And young people are not ashamed in the same extent. So there is a big shift. It's not a radical shift yet. It's really the early beginnings, but we can see the trends are changing. So I'm very optimistic, and especially among young people and males.
That's fantastic. That's good to hear. And I think you hear stories of things going on throughout Europe, and especially amongst men. It's just really good and encouraging things. You want to tell me a little bit about, how do you keep your faith strong? What are some of your daily practices or spiritual disciplines that you do to keep yourself connected with Jesus?
I like to walk. That's a good way of praying as you walk. That makes you more clearer. I have different also apps. Sometimes when you're on a train or with something, it's perfect to have these sort of, you make use of these breaks, and just instead of just looking at your phone, just have like 10 minutes of Bible meditation or something. So that's something. And then, my wife and I, we always end our days with prayer. That's very fundamental. So these are some of the things.
Great. Well, thank you. Johannes, as we finish, would like to invite you to take a moment, look at the camera, and give a challenge, or what encouraging words you'd like to give to our listeners today.
I really think that there is a new openness in Europe today. We see it in Sweden, but we see it in many different contexts. So I think we need to be bold and actually invite people, and especially invite people to our homes, build relationships, live missional, because there is a wonderful time that we're in. So I would just encourage you to see the opportunities, and also be open to the Spirit, to the guidance of the Spirit, instead of just having all these plans, being open to the Spirit, opening new doors, because I really believe that in this time and age, He's opening many new doors.
Johannes, thank you so much for sharing with us today, and thank you for being a guest on our podcast.
Yeah, thank you. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. Well, that's all for today's podcast. If you want to learn more about N4 Europe, please check out our website at n4europe.org. We'll see you next time.